Welcome back to HQ. One of the marquee games this week is a divisional matchup in the AFC West. Broncos and Chargers. Broncos against the Harbaugh brothers the last 10 years. They haven't covered the number except in 2022. Last 10 years in general, Sean Payton, Nathaniel Hackett, Vic Fangio, Vance Joseph, Gary Kubiak. Doesn't matter who's on the sideline. Been tough against either John or Jim. Let's break down this game with John Breech and Tyler Sullivan here. So Justin Herbert, guys, is off to a fantastic start. Third shortest odds to get the MVP. I almost said Heisman, but yes, MVP in terms of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, only ahead of him on that front. Breech, I'm going to give you first word here. Can that Broncos defense get enough pressure on Justin Herbert this week, you think?
Tommy, I'm not sure they can. When you look at the statistics for the Broncos defense so far this year, they do have 7 sacks. But, and there's a huge but here, 6 of those came in week 1 against the Titans when they were facing a rookie quarterback. Cam Ward making his first start. He was essentially a sitting duck back there. When they had to face a more mobile quarterback in week 2 and Daniel Jones, they couldn't get him. Daniel Jones was maneuvering around the pocket, making things happen. He threw for 316 yards. And I feel like Justin Herbert not only has that skill set, but is better and more talented than Daniel Jones, obviously. So I'm not sure that the Broncos can get pressure on Herbert. And the one thing about him is that he's been making smart decisions. He's been decisive through 2 weeks, and he's getting rid of the ball quickly. And when you have a quarterback who's playing like that, it's not easy to sack him. And on top of that, Justin Herbert is a big guy, so he's not easy to sack as it is. So I'm not sure that the Broncos are going to be taking Justin Herbert down or getting much pressure just because of how well and how intelligent he has been playing this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Breech, in lockstep. I think that this is kind of the key matchup here for the game because, as you referenced, Denver does have the second highest pressure rate defensively in the NFL over the first 2 weeks, but a lot of that can be attributed to week 1. And you look at the Los Angeles Chargers offensive line, that's one of the better units in the NFL. Yes, they lost Rashawn Slater at the beginning of the year, but they were a team best equipped to deal with some type of injury like that because you have Joe Walt switching from right to left tackle, and he's been doing so at a legitimate Pro Bowl, all-pro level. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL on the left side in terms of pass protection. You have Mekhi Becton, who was an offseason addition, being able to solidify the interior spot at guard. And I just look at what Justin Herbert is able to do from a above-the-ears kind of standpoint. Yes, physically, he's able to really do anything he wants on the football field, but he can sense the pressure when it's coming, and they're going to scheme away from that quite a bit. And even if they can't, you look at this offensive line, and yes, Breech is right that he has been able to get out the ball extremely fast, but in the instances where he hasn't been able to and he has to go through his progressions a little bit more, he has over 3 seconds to throw the football, and a lot of time that is because of the offensive line and how stout they've been. So I'm not as bullish on the Denver Broncos being able to get after Justin Herbert than the stats may indicate.
We had a graphic down there that since last year, the Broncos had the most sacks. I think it was like 70, but they only had 1 last week. And they need to get to Justin Herbert because the game against the Colts, guys, they looked pretty bad. And Pat Surtain, who's the reigning defensive player of the year, looked mortal. He's now dealing with an ankle injury from that game as well. And you add to that, Breech, all of a sudden, these Chargers with Greg Moman and Justin Herbert are slinging things around. I get so excited I can't even say it. They're winning things by throwing things.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Let's go back to last season real quick, though. It looked like Jim Harbaugh, he got hired. Jim Harbaugh, we know how he loves to win games. He wants to run the football and play defense, and that's really what the Chargers did for the first 4 weeks of the season. Those first 4 games, Justin Herbert didn't have a single game where he threw more than 30 passes. The Chargers went 2-2. They got to a week 5 bye, and it was like Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh sat down and was like, what are we doing? We have Justin Herbert on the team. Let's let him sling the ball. So over those final 13 weeks after that bye, there were 10 of the 13 games Justin Herbert threw more than 30 passes, and that has been their thinking going into the offseason, the training camp, and now where we are now. He's an MVP candidate through 2 weeks because this team absolutely trusts Justin Herbert. They don't need to rely just on the running game. And then let's not forget about his weapons. Quentin Johnson has looked excellent this season. Ladd McConkey, who had a great rookie year, there is no sophomore slump from him. And for me, I think one of the most underrated signings of the offseason was Keenan Allen. He went to Chicago, so he was away from the Chargers for a year, but he already has plenty of chemistry with Justin Herbert. We knew that going into the season, and now he is leading this team in receptions, and he has been one of the surprises so far. So Justin Herbert has looked great. His weapons have looked great, and I'm not sure the Broncos are going to be able to slow him down. Justin Herbert is absolutely playing like an MVP candidate.
Yeah, and the odds dictate that, rightfully so, only looking up to the 2 finalists a year ago. And as much as everything that Breech is saying is correct, the fact that they have a 3-headed monster at the receiver position is totally underrated in terms of all the people that they brought in and the elevation from Johnston and Ladd McConkey in their development in their young careers. And Herbert just taking that next level up in his career as well, specifically in the fourth quarter. He has really started to kind of refine his game and close out games at a very high degree. But to me, the key here is the running game. And I know that's kind of the antithesis of the passing game really taking the next step forward. But you saw last week that Jonathan Taylor was able to rush for 160 some odd yards, and that really helped Daniel Jones throw for over 300 yards. It allows you to open things up in the passing lane. So I'm looking at Marion Hampton, I'm looking at Najee Harris, and if those guys are able to run even remotely close to as effectively as Jonathan Taylor was last week, that's only going to have that Broncos defense cheat a little bit close to the line of scrimmage and open things up more for Justin Herbert and those receivers in the passing game.
This Broncos defense is elite, some calling it the best in football, which made last week even more surprising from what we saw. If we flip the matchup here and we go Broncos offense against Chargers defense, and Sully, I'll have you go first here, how much will Khalil Mack being out and on IR hurt this unit?
Yeah, I mean, there's no replacing Khalil Mack. He is someone who is going to be wearing a gold jacket one day, and even at his more polished age, I think that's the polite way to say it, polished age, he is still one of the better players at his position in the NFL. So there's never going to be a one-for-one replacement for him. In terms of how they go forward, I think Tui Pelotu is going to be one of those guys that comes off the edge. He's going to remain his starting spot. You have Bud Dupree, who's going to be a factor there as well. I'm also looking at Kyle Kennard. He's been their 4th-round pick out of South Carolina. He has been inactive over the last 2 weeks. Maybe he starts to see some playing time. You get the rookie involved a little bit. But overall, in this game in particular, I'm looking at this from a internal evaluation standpoint. Is what we have capable to absorb the loss of Khalil Mack? Or do we look at this and say, you know what? We're the favorites to win this division right now. We don't feel like we have the personnel to kind of absorb that loss. Maybe we do have to go out there and sign someone in the free agent market or strike a trade to help cushion the blow of Khalil Mack. So I think that is what this week is going to tell us. Do they have what they need internally to absorb that loss, or do they need to go external and try to fill that hole?
Yeah, you absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Tyler, because you are not going to replace Khalil Mack with one person. Even if you go out and make a trade or sign a free agent, you're not going to get the kind of impact player that Khalil Mack is. But like Tyler just said, this is a good chance for the Chargers to kind of send out a rotational, a couple guys and see what they can do. And one of those smart signings they've made recently was Bud Dupree. You have a seasoned veteran who's in his 11th NFL season. So now he's going to get some extended playing time after seeing some action in the first 2 games. And then we're talking about Kyle Kennard. Tyler mentioned his name. He is a rookie, 4th-round pick, but he led the SEC in sacks last season. So we're talking about someone who might be able to rush the passer. You throw him in there, and maybe he surprises you a little bit. You have another young guy in Caleb Murphy. So you get to really have the seasoned veteran in Dupree. You have 2 young guys, and if any of them surprise you, then you don't have to worry as much going forward about maybe looking for a free agent or making a trade. But if these guys struggle, then you know, all right, if we want this defense to be as good as it can be, and the Chargers had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year and are looking very good this year, then maybe you have to make a move in the next few weeks. But for right now, I think Tyler's right here. This is just kind of the proving ground. You want to see what your defense can do in their first game without Khalil Mack.
And Bo Nix will be happy not to see Khalil Mack, but he's also got to take care of the football a little bit better early on this season. Who wins tonight and why, Sully?
I'm going to go with the Chargers, and you kind of referenced it there. I'm a little nervous about Bo Nix, and I am one of those people who was very invested in the Denver Broncos this offseason, was taking the cheese on them repeating their playoff run from a year ago, and that was a lot because I liked what we saw from Bo Nix in year one, not loving what I'm seeing in Bo Nix in year two. His off-target rate is in the bottom half of the NFL. His turnover-worthy throw rate is fourth highest among starting quarterbacks in the NFL. So I just look at that going up against a defense in the Los Angeles Chargers, yes, without Khalil Mack, but still with a ton of playmakers. I have my doubts that those turnovers are going to subside. And then on the other side, we referenced it, Justin Herbert playing at an MVP level. I just feel like there's too much on the LA side for Denver to overcome.
Yeah, I am also going with the Chargers. We're on the same page here, Sully. The one thing about Bo Nix, though, is that last year as a rookie, he threw 4 interceptions in the first 2 games. After that, things seemed to click. He only threw 1 interception in the next 6 games. So if you are the Broncos, you're hoping that's what's happening now, throwing 3 interceptions in the first 2 games this year. Maybe things click again and he stops throwing them. But for now, I think the Chargers look like one of the 5 best teams in football, and they have a chance to do something you don't see very often. If they beat the Broncos, that means they'll have opened the season with 3 straight divisional wins. We haven't seen a team do that since 2006 when the Chicago Bears pulled it off. The Bears made it all the way to the Super Bowl that year, so this will be a big win for the Chargers.
I wish this game was tonight, but sadly we'll have to wait till Sunday afternoon for Broncos and Chargers on CBS. John Breech and Tyler Sullivan, gentlemen, thank you for the game breakdown. There it is. Second window doubleheader, including Saints and Seahawks, Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.